All right, so I'm looking at innovation in the, can I restart?
Just keep going. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking at innovation in American companies in recent years. So kind of how I started to arrive at my question, I learned about Kodak Cameras, who is a prominent camera company in the 20th century. They were at the top of their field in cameras. They developed handheld cameras. They developed handheld cameras, and this kind of led them to be at the top of their field, have most of the market share. But then as time went on, they kind of dropped off. They dropped off in cameras to the digital cameras. They didn't want to innovate. They kept their same business strategy, and this led them to kind of fall off. So in 1988, they spent around $1 billion a year on R&D, and then this dropped to only $324 million in 2009, and now it's only $34 million in 2020. Along with this has brought a drastic drop in revenue, and they are now nowhere near the top of their industry. So this kind of caused me to look at things and analyze how this has affected other companies, maybe not just in the camera industry, but also every other industry, and how this drop in innovation could affect more than this. So my research question, how does the R&D budget affect the growth of companies in terms of new product production? Okay, so my first source is Innovation Invention in the EU business sector by John Hanady and Peter Pissar. So this source kind of framed a lot of my ideas for the correlation of everything. So this provides the link between the amount spent on R&D and the total innovation of a company. So it kind of correlated the two values together. And it found a positive link between the two variables, a strong positive correlation between the two variables. This did it for the EU business sector. And I kind of used this and applied it to all American companies to kind of correlate it. So it's not just one sector of the American companies. My second source is changing R&D models in research-based pharmaceutical companies. So what this source did is that he kind of looked at the changing model in pharmaceutical companies and how instead of trying to innovate new products and find new drugs that they could make and kind of sell, they instead spent more money on keeping the patents that they have currently. So they didn't want to extend themselves into getting more things. They just wanted to keep what they have. So kind of losing innovation in their company. And this kind of looked at how everything changed over time from how they did invent new drugs and how they got to the top of their fields. And now they're kind of just stagnating and staying there. So this kind of linked the drop of innovation from one sector. I kind of wanted to apply it broader to almost every sector. And then my final source is low R&D efficiency in large pharmaceutical companies. So I kind of wanted a way to measure innovation, because innovation itself is kind of a very broad concept that one can't just like find with a number. So what this source did is that they looked at how patents can they looked at innovation in terms of patents, because patents are a license to a new product that you create that you want the rights to. And so they looked at it through the idea of patents and how this brought about innovation. And what they found was that the R&D efficiency, the amount spent on R&D, kind of leads to a drop in patents, because they've kind of they don't spend the money to its fullest extent. They kind of lose a lot of it, so they could do more with it. So this affected the innovation of the company, because they weren't using it to its fullest potential. And so this brought me to my method, a correlation research between the amount spent on R&D. This is for the top companies in the US on spending on R&D alone. And then the total number of patents produced or applied for each company in the United States. And both of these values are coming from the year 2018 because this is a very a big year for data. There was a lot of data available to look at through the lens of correlation for these two values. So I decided to go with that. So results, as the overall, and there was an overall link between the amount of spending on R&D and the amount of patents that were applied for. There was a positive correlation of 0.925, a strong positive correlation. And this, as a general idea, it doesn't link every industry. It's all the top companies in the field together. So with this broad category, I kind of wanted to look at it through the lens of different industries. For this, I chose the top 10 companies in R&D spending for the United States as a whole. I also included R&D efficiency on this to see how well they were spending their money. And so I included all three of those values, and then I put them all together to kind of compare and see how they went together. And then specifically, I wanted to look at different industries as well, separately by themselves. The first one, I wanted to look at the technology sector and how R&D spending and patent applications were kind of combined together. And so I looked at Microsoft, Intel, Apple, Oracle, and Dell. I also did this with internet service providers, so they provide a service through the internet. I looked at Amazon, Alphabet, or Google. I looked at Facebook, Cisco, and eBay. And I did the same thing with patents and R&D spending. And then finally, I did this for the mechanical engineering field. These are not all in the same spending, like construction or airplanes or motors. They aren't the same, but they're all together in connecting spending. So I did Ford, General Electric, Boeing, Nanotechnologies, and Caterpillar. So for the main connection, there was a general trend that as the spending of R&D increases, the amount of patents that are applied for increases as well. Now, the companies here are not all in the same industry, which affects the data because not all industries are connected the same to patent applications. And then, along with this, which also applies because not all of them are able to apply to as many. And then, to go along with this for the specific industries, for the top 10 companies, the data kind of just jumps around from patent applications and R&D spending. There's no general increase as you go up in spending. And so with this, I wanted to kind of see if this was due to the fact that they were in different kind of sectors, in different companies, and if that affected it at all, or if it was just because there is kind of just a difference between these. And so for the technology companies, I kind of saw that there was no major increase as spending went up, that patents went down. So this is kind of seen with Oracle. Oracle had more spending than Dell, but they had significantly less patents in them. And then along with this, all of them, despite having different spending amounts, they were all kind of around the same amount for patents in the technology sector. So I saw that there was no main significant trend between spending more and getting more patents. For the internet companies, I saw that with the two top companies, there was no difference between spending and patent applications, but I did see that there was a significant drop-off with patents as the amount of spending decreased with that. With the top two companies, they are around the same spending, and they are around the same patent applications, but with the bottom three of Facebook, Cisco, and eBay, they have significantly less spending than both of them, and they also have significantly less patent applications. And to go along with this, I also wanted to look at the mechanical engineering field. This one was typically the same trend as the technology one. It was the same trend as the internet services one. for patent applications. So there was a significant drop off with patents from the first two to the last three, while there was no massive drop off in spending along with that. And so there is a difference here with what they are specifically making. Seeing that Ford is with motors, cars, Boeing builds planes, and Caterpillar builds construction. So they are in different industries of the engineering field. So this could be a bigger effect on patents, but it also could be something else, which is what I wanted to look at for the significance. So what this does is it provides a link between the amount of R&D spending and the amount of innovation that they have together. Sorry. So what I figured that there was is there's this sort of bracket between an amount of spending and the amount of patents that they have. So if you're in this like top spending bracket, you're gonna have relatively similar amounts of patents, but as you go out of these specific tiers, the amount of patents you're gonna have is gonna decrease as you go down. And this can be seen with the top companies having really no real like linear change in patents. They're all kind of jumping up and down. But as you look at the bottom, as you look at the lower companies in these tiers, they have significantly less patents than everyone else because of the lowered spending. And so generally what this means is if you can spend more money, you're going to have more patents, but it's not a linear line. You're just going to be in a sort of section with more than everyone else. And this kind of signifies the difference. And then along with this is something for American companies as a business model, which is significantly different from different countries with how they kind of approach spending and everything. Because America, these companies are all publicly traded, so they do have to kind of give back to their investors, which is something that could be different. One limitation I had is it's a limited scope of observation. So it didn't analyze any other effects, mainly when it comes to innovation, such as the technology that they already have, any government help that they have, or any other ideas that they come up with. It also only characterizes innovation in terms of R&D spending and not specifically R&D efficiency, because that didn't seem to have any major effect on everything else. And also, since the smaller companies don't have their data publicly traded, this is only really applicable to higher spending companies. And then future research, one thing that you can look at is the difference in data over time and how this can affect with depressions, with peaks in spending, and with how the general trend of the economy changes over time. And then another is the analysis of each sector to determine the change throughout the data, such as why some companies or why some industries have a lot more patents than the others, and why some are brought to, and why in these specific industries some have a lot more patents than everyone else.